Welcome back to the Knight's Book Club podcast. My name is Mason Knight. Sitting across from me is my sister, Makaylee Knight. Hello, there she is. Wave to the camera for everyone. Yes, this is episode 2 of our podcast. And be sure, before we get into the actual review, be sure to smash that like button, comment below, and subscribe to the channel. As we drop book reviews here every single week. We may actually even be adding more down the line, but right now we're just trying to get used to it, get the feel for things. All social media accounts, guys, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, at Knight's Book Club. Go and follow us there. Makaylee does a really good job with running the Instagram and the Facebook and all the socials. Very aesthetically pleasing, as they say. Makaylee, what are we here to recap, review, summarize today? What book?
So today we are going to be doing The Maid by Nita Prose.
Yes.
Yeah.
You want to tell me a little bit about Nita?
She is a longtime editor, and she served many best-selling authors and their books. As of right now, she lives in Toronto, Canada, in a house that is moderately clean.
Oh, moderately clean. Well, that will come into play later on. You'll understand why that's in the author's background, because this book deals with a lot of cleaning. So the date published for this book actually just released about 2 months ago, January 4th, 2022, with a page count of 304 pages. Audiobook format is about 9.5 hours.
Yeah. Would
you like to give the genre of this? Is kind of a mystery, thriller, suspense, literary fiction. Mm-hmm. We'll jump into that more later on. This is our spoiler-free kind of summary review. Yeah. Do you want to give the synopsis, Makaylee?
Sure. In The Maid, Molly Gray is a maid who has difficulty in social situations, but who takes great pride in her work. She works at the upscale Regency Grand Hotel, taking pride in her neatly tucked bed corners and wiping every spot of dirt and dust from every surface. Then one day she finds a dead body of Mr. Black, a wealthy real estate tycoon, in one of the guest rooms, sending her life into disarray and revealing the messy, gritty activities going on beneath their noses in the hotel. In this cozy murder mystery, Molly finds Mr. Black's killer or risks getting entangled in a dirty pool. And to do so, Molly must rely on those she trusts so they can clean up the mess.
Okay. So pretty lengthy synopsis there, but yeah, basically it deals with this maid, Molly the maid. Early on, and this is no spoilers because you get it right away, she's got some sort of like OCD or something because she's very meticulous in her cleaning. But overall, like your general thoughts on the book, obviously this is spoiler free right now, so we're not going to jump into anything. I'll start first so you can kind of think about this. But my general thoughts on the book, I thought the character development of Molly was really well done. I thought the writing style I really enjoyed, and it was really easy to listen to. I thought the narrator knocked it out of the park for how I would imagine Molly being. I also liked the character of Molly and how fleshed out she was. I knew exactly her motives and everything. A little naive, shall we say, a little naive Molly was. Not, she obviously was living with her gran for years and years, and you could tell she didn't have much of a social life. I did enjoy all those elements, and I really got a sense of who she was. I will say, though, that the mystery was pretty predictable in this. I saw it coming right away, and I think the author intentionally did that with a few of the key things that she dropped in throughout this book. And then obviously we get the big twist. There's a big twist towards the end of the book. I'm not going to say specifically, but even with that, I thought the story moving on for those 9.5 hours were pretty predictable overall. But I did enjoy it. I will give my review and ranking of this book out of 5 stars later on. But what was your overall thoughts of this book, Makaylee? Did you enjoy it? Did you not?
I did not enjoy this book.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to tell me some reasons why?
Yeah. So, like you said, Molly, there's something wrong with her that the author never specifies. She could have OCD. She
could have a form of high functioning autism.
Yeah, she could have autism, or she could be neurodivergent. And like I said, the author never specified, and for some reason, I don't know why, that bothered me.
Really?
Because I'm like, she's 25, right? Mm-hmm. And she grew up with her grandma. She speaks like she's from the 1930s, and it frustrated me because I feel like if she would have not necessarily labeled Molly, but if she did tell us, that my name is Molly, blah, 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 I feel like I would have enjoyed the book more, but it's just the questioning of what Molly has, it irked me.
Yeah, see, I would have to disagree with that. I mean, from my perspective, just because I knew she had something wrong with her. To what capacity, I did not know. But I felt like I got enough from that, because obviously Gran's not going to go take her to a doctor and diagnose her. And then Molly's not going to go because she doesn't have the wherewithal to diagnose herself and figure out what specifically she has wrong with her. I really didn't mind it. And especially too, Molly growing up very poor, obviously living with Gran because her parents abandoned her. Mm-hmm. This is no spoilers, guys. This is literally in the first chapter of the book. Yeah, so no spoilers. We're just giving you who the characters are, but yeah. Let's jump into this. Let's just go right into spoilers. Okay. Mm-hmm. Are you ready for this?
Yep.
All right. So what was your overall thoughts here of the opening of this book? Okay. We obviously learn about Molly immediately in the prologue. It's talking about, I like rooms tidy and neat, and I do this and that. And yeah, go ahead and pull up the specific quote, which will summarize everything with which Molly is.
I put this in my favorite parts. This is the only thing I put for my notes. It says, "Is this a good time for me to return your suite to a state of perfection?"
Yes. That is exactly who Molly is. Okay, now that we're into spoilers, I'll be honest with you. When the first two chapters, because I went into this book, I read the quick synopsis for what the book was, and I was like, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. A new author, a brand new book. Let's review it. Why not? Man, the first two chapters, before I figured out, that Molly obviously had something going on, like OCD or something, I was annoyed with her. I was so annoyed with her right off the bat. I was like, she's kind of rude. She's kind of rude, kind of don't like her. Because she was just like, I do it this way, and people don't do it as good as me. And I'm like, you're kind of pompous, okay? You're kind of being a brat. But then I started to realize that she just takes her job of cleaning very seriously. And, obviously that she's suffering from some form of OCD or whatever. So I started to loosen up my thoughts a little bit on that. But, we get into this. Molly and we find out right away that Gran is actually dead. Her grandma has actually been dead for 9 months now, and she has been living alone and entirely by herself. Molly also doesn't have friends.
Completely isolated.
Yeah, she doesn't know how to interpret body language in social situations, and it makes her really uncomfortable. Why I'm confused. Why are you giving me this look?
Because, okay, I put somewhere in my notes, Molly's qualities are not consistent because, like you just said, so I wrote, they shift depending on the need of the story. She doesn't quite understand what a Roomba is or can't tell if someone is smiling or not, but then effectively spouting off complex behavioral analysis a few chapters later. Her qualities, they don't line up.
Well, okay, but knowing what technological advances are, like a Roomba, but then being able to have a complex conversation are two different things.
That was just one.
No, I know, and I did see that. I did see that with people who had a problem with the book, but again, you have to intertwine those two. For me, that they're separate issues. Yeah, she might be able to have complex conversations, but that doesn't mean she'll necessarily know what a Roomba is. I mean, her and her grandma are piss poor, really poor individuals, barely making ends meet. And then when Gran dies, Molly's having a hard time even paying the rent. She's behind on her rent time and time again, which is continuing to frustrate her landlord, Mr. Russo.
Yeah.
That guy's not a very nice guy. I don't
No,
like Russo
that man has...
Yeah.
That man made me so mad.
So anyway, so Gran, passes away 9 months ago, and Molly's cleaning rooms, and she's so good at her job that she gets like these penthouse suites that she's cleaning. And one of the rooms that she consistently cleans is Charles Black and Gazelle Black, right? Which are the black typhoons. They own a bunch of hotels, a bunch of real estate, but they do not own the Regency Grand. They just stay there. And she's constantly cleaning this room. She's constantly doing it. And then on Monday, she shows up for work, and Molly finds the dead body of Mr. Black in the hotel suite. And then the story kind of starts to unravel there.
Yeah.
Because we get like flashbacks. There's different timetables. And we find out that Giselle was very upset earlier that day. And remember, Molly came in and said, "Can I clean the room?"
When Giselle went into the bathroom.
Right, and then Giselle went to the bathroom, and then Molly cleaned up the whole room, but didn't clean the bathroom because Giselle never came out. Come to find out, like, they're all friends and stuff. They're buddies. Giselle's actually had a pretty influential friendship, if that's what you want to call it, with Molly.
Yeah, and then so Molly had to come back later when she was done with the rest of her rooms.
Yes. Yep.
And
then obviously we get the unraveling of like Giselle not being in a happy marriage. She does not like Mr. Black. Mr. Black was married before this to the first Mrs. Black. And Mrs. Black, the first one, tried to warn Giselle that, hey, everything's all fine and dandy now when you're dating, but as soon as you marry this man, he turns into a monster.
Yeah.
And she's kind of starting to realize that a little bit. But back to the dead body. So Black Properties and Investments has been in turmoil lately due to like a tussle over ownership, because Mr. Black's daughter, Victoria Black, owns 49% of all shares in the company. And obviously Victoria's mother, which is the first Mrs. Black, is fighting with her to try to help her daughter. So there's a battle for this massive tycoon, this massive business. So anyway, we go back to the actual official scene. At the scene, Molly notices an open bottle of Giselle's pills.
Yikes.
Scattered all over. Money is gone from the safe, and there's a flight itinerary for a one-way trip to the Cayman Islands for 2 people.
Also, with the safe, because the synopsis really didn't cover it, there was a safe. It was in the closet. The closet doors were open, and the safe was open.
Yes.
Molly didn't go looking for the safe.
No, yeah. She wasn't trying to score, but she does score later. Yeah, she did something naughty. Not a good girl, but... Well, I'm sorry. She prides herself on being a good person, and then she's like, yeah, I'm going to go pawn that stuff off later. I'm like... What? Okay, so are you a good person? Or I'm confused. But I mean, at the same time, you got to pay rent. You got to pay rent. So the police question Molly because she had just found the body of Mr. Black, and obviously there's a lot of incriminating evidence to suggest that Gazelle may have murdered her husband, because of course it's always the wife.
Yep.
I mean, you find me dead, your first place you got to ask is my wife.
Oh my God.
I'm just joking. It's just a funny joke, everyone. No humor allowed on the podcast, I suppose. Okay.
Not at all.
Anyway, earlier that day, the police come and question Molly, and Molly is answering their questions, but she's not giving them every single detail right away.
Yeah.
And initially, I start to wonder, I'm like, okay, what is she hiding? What does she know? Because this is like, because you want to look for those clues in the very beginning of the book, because everything else that they lead you towards could be, a false red herring or a false narrative.
In the beginning of the book, it literally gave us a step-by-step detail. And then when she was speaking to the police, we got almost nothing. And so I like you just said, immediately I was like, what is she hiding?
Yep. And, obviously Giselle because we keep going kind of in this alternate timeline, and then it's before Mr. Black is dead. But, she's telling Molly, because they become friends, they're like braiding hair and stuff. And she's kind of taking her in like a daughter, I suppose. she starts talking to Molly about how Mr. Black is not only a cheater, but he's also an abuser emotionally and physically in this marriage. And Molly is very concerned by that. But at the end of the day, she's got to keep it to herself, because you're not going to release that, because she's going to lose her job and lose everything. So she kind of just keeps it to herself because of the friendship that she has with Giselle. And with a character like Molly, she's so trusting of everyone. Everyone that, the most trustworthy person, but she constantly gets screwed over in this book, unfortunately.
Makes me so sad.
Yeah, but it makes for a good story, I suppose.
It really does.
So on Tuesday, Molly's landlord, Mr. Russo, reminds her of her rent payment. This guy is so pesky. He is, throughout this whole book, just constantly nagging and constantly being like, "Where's my rent money?"
And
like
every
the stereotypical
time
guy.
Yeah, and every time he hears Molly coming into the apartment complex, he'll open his door.
Yeah. It's always that cliche of like your landlord right next to you in like a book or a film.
Yeah.
They got like a little cat or a little dog.
Me
Where's my rent money? I'm like, I don't know, dude. It's 2 days late. I have a 30-day grace period. Like, get off.
Relax,
my back.
buddy.
Yeah. But like he kind of has sympathy for Molly, but really doesn't, because he goes, your gran would be so disappointed in you.
Mm-hmm.
You guys were always clean, tidy, and cordial, and always paid rent on time, and then your gran dies, and now you don't pay. It's like, dude, she's by herself.
Let's relax.
She's not doing well right now, but he's just constantly pestering her.
Did we ever talk about the trust?
What do you mean?
Molly's gran's trust.
Go ahead.
No, I'm asking.
No, we have not.
Oh, so I don't remember what it was called, but Molly's gran set up like this trust thing that she had, and she gave Molly, like, they would go and deposit money into it every paycheck. Molly ends up getting a boyfriend. His name was Wilbur.
Wilbur, yes.
And one time, because they were dating at the time, she trusted him. He went with Molly to go deposit money into the ATM, and he saw her PIN code, and then I'm pretty sure it was the next day he stole her card and went
drained the account.
Drained the entire account.
And they had tens of thousands of dollars that Gran was saving for Molly to be able to go to this higher education to become like a hotel manager or something, or a lead maid.
That I got a little bit choked up during that part, because I was like, that is so devastating. And Molly didn't report it to the police because she didn't want her gran to find out that her boyfriend stole.
Yep. And that was her one boyfriend. And like, that was someone that she trusted immensely, obviously, because she's dating him. It was her first real boyfriend. She felt like she was in love, and again, first boyfriend when you're 20 something, they fall hard, right?
Yeah.
So like she really trusted this guy, and he completely devastated her, broke her heart, and then stole everything they ever earned. And we get a sense from Gran and Molly that they're very hard workers. They take a lot of pride in their job.
Yep.
Gran worked for a very wealthy house family, and she took her job very serious as well. So an absolute tragedy all the way around. But to go back to Tuesday, so Rodney has to meet up with Molly after her shift, okay? Because now we're kind of getting another flashback, because a year and a half ago, Molly had walked into a room and where she was stopped by like these two large men with like tattoos and gauges and all this crazy stuff. And she saw Rodney and Juan Manuel there. Juan Manuel was one of the kitchen dishwashers in the room.
I loved him.
Yeah, Juan, I did enjoy Juan. He had a very tragic story as well. But Rodney had asked to talk with her afterwards, which, of course, Molly, being naive and being obsessed with Rodney, took it as a first date, okay? And this is over dinner, obviously. He asked her not to tell anyone about what she saw. She just thinks she's coming in, cleaning up after rock stars or something. She is so oblivious to literally everything.
Every social cue.
It was so frustrating for me at this moment in this book, because I'm like, girl, get a clue. You got two guys who are very menacing looking. You got white powder everywhere. She's like, oh, they're so messy.
A duffel bag.
Someone must have had a powdered donut in here. And I'm like, girl, that was a little unbelievable to me, because I'm like, at some point, Yeah, how do you not put two and two together? They got duffel bags full of things. They got powdered donuts on the counter.
Juan Manuel and Rodney.
Right.
The two that she knew in that room were acting extremely suspicious.
Suspicious as well. And then you look at Manuel's arms. He's got cigarette burns on his arms. Yep. I mean, come on. Like, you kind of got to put the pieces together. But, of course, she doesn't because she's not a detective. She is a maid. And obviously Rodney's like begging her not to say anything. And she's kind of just confused. She's like, why would I say anything? Why would the cops ask for you? You know, like, what do you mean? And so he's getting like super defensive. And then Rodney asks her a favor. He goes, hey, Manuel obviously lost because he's not a legal worker. Mm-hmm. And he goes, obviously he lost his permit to work here and all that. So could you give him a hotel key after you clean a room that you know is not going to be rented out so he can stay and work and continue to provide for his family? Not knowing the full context, of course, Molly agrees because she's a good person and she wants to keep, Manuel around. But in the present day, Molly meets up with Rodney, who asked her about her being a witness yesterday and seeing what she saw and asking if what the police had done. And so frustrating.
Wake up.
No, it's for a different day.
Just kidding.
So go. Sorry. So she dismisses the everything about that. She starts getting irritated because Rodney keeps asking, well, did you bring up Manuel? Did you bring up me? She's like, no, like, what does that have to do with this murder?
I thought we were on a date.
Yeah, like, come on, what are we doing? This is our second date. Hold my hand.
Second date in like a year and a half.
Yeah, a year and a half, yeah. He's really into you, Molly, you dork. Well, I mean, come on, like, put the pieces together. I mean, that is what was kind of frustrating is she was so naive in this book that I was like, girl.
Yeah.
Girl power. Like, come on. Stand up for yourself. This guy is not that into
Come on, honeybee.
Like, come on. But afterwards, Mr. Preston, the doorman, sees those two walk out together, and then he kind of pulls Molly aside and warns her to be really careful with Rodney because, Mr. Preston is not naive like Molly, and he knows the kind of guy Rodney is. Mm-hmm. And there's been some real sketchy stuff going on in this hotel. And Mr. Preston, he's got those eyeballs. He's looking around. He's been working here for 2
The doorman knows everything.
The doorman knows everything. That is true.
I loved Mr. Preston because he knew her gran.
Right. Well, and he also comes into play later on. And then obviously we learn about Wilbur, which was Molly's ex. We kind of just talked about that. And everything that happened to that, because she didn't obviously want to report, because then Gran would know, and Gran would be devastated because she's on her deathbed. She's got pancreatic cancer to begin with, so it's not looking good for old Gran. But it is what it is. When Molly gets home, though, she finds Gazelle waiting outside her apartment building. Now, this is weird.
I was like, oh?
Yeah, I was like, hold on. Gazelle, the rich billionaire girl, is outside your house?
You keep calling her Gazelle. It's Giselle.
Giselle. Oh, Gazelle. Giselle, whatever. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of, dumb.
It's okay.
So anyway, Giselle waiting outside her apartment building. Giselle is currently staying at another room in the Regency Grand because, again, she just can't get out of the hotel, and she says, oh, I have nowhere else to be. Now, there's a reason. There's a reason she's still at the hotel. She might be getting, that side action, I think we'll call it that. But, keeping it very PG here. But inside, Giselle fills Molly into what's been going on. She and Charles had gotten into an argument earlier that day about a piece of property that Giselle wanted in her name in the Cayman Islands. It was just this little villa in the Cayman Islands. She wanted her name and wanted to talk about the prenup because at this point, if they were to get a divorce or leave each other, she would get nothing.
Yeah.
But Giselle insists that she didn't kill Charles to Molly. And she's like, trust me, I didn't do it. And of course, Molly believes her, right?
Wasn't she a little bit she believed her, but then at the same time she was...
Well, yeah, she probably had little questions, but...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, overall, she did believe her. I mean, at this point in the story, Mikhaili, what were you feeling? As soon as this big development happened, Giselle is claiming she didn't murder. Like, what did you think? Do you think she was the murderer? Did you think anything was suspicious?
So I did not think Giselle killed Mr. Black at all. I mean, the thought crossed my mind, and I was like, she might have. But then in the same, when Giselle is at Molly's apartment, she asked her to get the gun. Mm-hmm. And so I knew it wasn't Giselle, because in a way she did love Charles, and I don't think she would have killed him. So, yeah. But at this point, I was suspicious of Juan Manuel and Rodney.
Yeah, for sure. And I totally agree with that.
Because I was like, it's got to be one of them. But I didn't think it was Juan Manuel, because he seemed like too genuine of a character to do something that malicious. Yeah. For no reason.
Well, I would say in this part we haven't actually talked about yet, but when Giselle leaves Molly's apartment, she hands her $200. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, here's $200. I forgot to tip you. Oh, BT Dubs, got a huge fave, girl. Could you just, maybe grab my loaded gun that's in the top of the fan in the bathroom? Is that cool, girl? Could you just grab my gun? I just was so drunk one night, and just funnily enough, I just opened the fan and just put my loaded gun. I definitely was not trying to kill my husband, okay? The gun is just for fun.
In any way, shape, or form.
No, I just go to the shooting range with the girls. It's a lot of fun. You should come by sometime, shoot the gun. But I would never shoot my husband, Mr. Black, in the face 6 times. Never.
Okay, the silent patient.
I know. That's callback. Good.
Callback.
I'm glad he caught that. But, okay, so she asks, and of course, Molly's like, naive as can be. Well, yeah, sure, I'll grab that loaded gun for you in the fan. That's what that noise was. And I love that about Molly, and it's actually good writing, because despite all this craziness, Molly's first thought in the book was not, oh my God, Giselle's asking me to grab a gun. What would she have done with this? Or why does Giselle have a gun? Or why did she put it up there? Her first thought was, I knew there was something wrong with that fan when I walked into the bathroom. And I'm like,
that was her immediate reaction.
You are missing the plot here. Okay. You are missing the plot. But that is who Molly is throughout this entire book. And at times very frustrating. So we'll move on to Wednesday, because this whole book takes place over like 1 week, right?
Which I did not realize until like Thursday.
Right, yeah, until you start being like, Thursday,
wait a minute.
And then you scroll back, you're like, oh yeah, Wednesday, Tuesday. But on Wednesday, the police are done inspecting the Black Suite, and Molly is assigned to clean it up. She's also got Rodney suggest that Juan Manuel should stay up there, because no one's going to want to rent that room out for a while. And obviously they want things to die down before they rent it to anyone anyway. Because, obviously it'll just give the Regency Hotel more grief. And he gives Holly a duffel bag. Molly, sorry. He gives Molly a duffel bag, and he's like, hey, since you're going up there, could you just like drop off this duffel bag that's really heavy and is full of kilos of Cocoa Puffs? We're really into cereal here. Molly, of course, agrees to bring up this duffel bag. So Molly, just can we talk about something here real quick? So between the gun, and between the discrete duffel bags that you are bringing, now you are a trafficker.
And the donut pounder.
And all the powder. All right, the donuts. Yeah, it was the donuts. Molly, you gotta put the pills, Molly.
The pills Giselle's pills that don't have a label on the bottle.
Molly, come on, put it together. You're part of this now.
And Juan Manuel's burn marks on his arms.
Oh my gosh.
The one on Rodney's chest.
But of course, Molly agrees because she is infatuated with Rodney. She's like, yeah, no problem. I'll put that duffel bag up there. And, Molly goes up there, brings a duffel bag, and puts it right under the bed. And, Rodney's not even subtle about this, because he knows Molly, is just not going to catch on at all. He's like, when you bring that bag up there, please hide it under the bed. We don't want anyone to see. It's going to be a big deal. She's like, oh, what's in it? He's like, rocks. He likes to study rocks. He likes to collect crystals and rocks. And she's just like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. That's why it's kind of heavy. Okay. It's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But Molly cleans the suite, obviously, and then she places the duffel bag under something, and she goes up to grab Giselle's gun from the bathroom. And Molly, instead of just like taking the gun out, right? Or just take it out of the hotel, she puts it in like a replaceable vacuum filter and then leaves the gun on the property.
Yeah, she literally not once did the thought cross her mind to maybe not leave it in the hotel. It's not like there's an ongoing investigation or anything.
It's like, why would you leave a gun that could be evidence? Yeah. Like, why would you not just take that out of the hotel room immediately? But no, instead she puts it in the filter.
Yeah, of course.
And this isn't even the worst part, because Molly then finds Mr. Black's wedding ring. Molly. And instead of being like, oh, this could be some evidence for the crime scene because Mr. Black just died. No. Instead, she goes, I really got to pay some of my rent this month. Mr. Russo, every time I come home, he's got that stupid little chihuahua in his arm, and he's always asking me, do you have the rent yet, Molly? So she instead decides to do the wrong thing here, and she goes to a pawn shop and pawns it so that she can pay. On her lunch break. On her lunch break, yeah. Not wise, Molly. And then when she returns back to the hotel, the police are looking to question Molly again because there's some things that just are not adding up. And then they obviously confront her about not being forthcoming about the knowledge that she has with Giselle and Charles. Yeah. Because has been new things developing between those two. The relationship, the detectives are starting to figure out that it was not a good relationship. It was an abusive relationship. So now Giselle is probably suspect number one at this point. Yeah. And then that night, Molly uses the money to pay off her rent that's late. And then she's feeling really, really bad about it. So who does she call?
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, she should have called Ghostbusters. Probably would have been a lot better than calling this jerk. But no, she calls Rodney instead. And then she confides in him that Giselle's gun and the pawning of Mr. Black's wedding ring. She tells him everything. And this whole time, like, you can just hear Rodney and how excited he is and how happy he is. He's like, oh, don't you worry about anything. I'm going to take care of everything. Don't leave. Don't go anywhere. Make sure you stay at your apartment. These should all be red flags for Molly. But again, she just trusts Rodney. Molly. She thinks she's dating Rodney at this point. So delusional. I mean, delusional. One of the more delusional human beings on planet Earth. And then Thursday morning, Molly wakes up. And is immediately met at the door. She's still in her jammies.
She's still in her pajamas.
Yep. And she's arrested for Mr. Black's murder. She's all confused. She's crying. She's passing out. Waking up, passing out again. Waking up, passing out. Because she passes out a lot in this book, guys. Anytime she's got a problem or an issue or any sort of stress,
when she gets
goes
too
to sleep.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, which must be nice. I wish I could do that. If I ever got too stressed, I'm just like, all right, peace. I'll see you in a quick 45.
Power nap.
Just like an instant turn off button. That'd be tremendous. I really wish I had that. But
just narcoleptic.
just shut it off. Like, just instantly snore right away. What a life. Molly's, at least she's got one superpower. I don't know. Honestly. Maybe it's a superhero book. Who knows?
I think so.
But, obviously by now, the detectives have known that Mr. Black died of asphyxiation. He did not die of a drug overdose, did not die of a heart attack.
Yeah. Which is what they thought, right?
Right. And now they're blaming Molly. Now they're saying that because this is huge. But I saw this like literally right away. Like, because the prologue, the start of the book, okay, and then we have 4 primped pillows for the bed.
Too hard and too soft.
And I'm like...
And the second she walked into the room, she realized
there were 3 pillows. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, like, I already know, like, this isn't some big...
gave it away, my guy.
You gave it away. Like, I already know he was suffocated. Like, okay. But yeah, so the detectives finally figure that out and say, "Where's the pillow, Molly? You say you're good at your job. Where's the darn pillow?
Where's the pillow?
Where's the pillow?" She's shaking
What's in the box?
Shaking her, and she's like, just starts snoring. God dang it. We can't keep scaring this girl. She just keeps shutting off.
It's like a light switch.
Oh my god. The interrogation.
They have her cuffed with her teapot pajamas and they're smacking her. Where's the pillow?
Oh gosh. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Could you imagine interrogating someone like Molly? Like anytime you raise your voice, she's like, "System's overwhelmed." God dang it, Fred. This is the fourth time you yelled at her. This interrogation's taking hours. Can we just talk to her? She wakes up, they're like, "So Molly, where's the pillow?" Starts talking to her super soft just so she doesn't shut off and faint for the 11th time in the book. But yeah, no, if you know the book, you guys will get these jokes because Molly faints a lot in this. And it can be frustrating.
Starting from the middle of the book.
Yeah.
She faints.
She faints. Well, in the beginning, when she discovered Mr. Black, she fainted too. I'm like, I don't know how you live life like this. So anyway, now Molly is in custody. I'm assuming a few interrogations went wrong and she shut down. Finally, she asked for a phone call. And at this point, the detectives are tired. Okay, they've been interviewing this broad for hours and she keeps shutting off. So they're like, just make a phone call. So she makes a phone call.
Wait, she makes the phone call. You forgot to mention, she's very suspicious of Rodney right now. Thank God, finally. It took her long enough, right? I just wanted to point that out.
But it's like minor suspicion.
Minor.
He could have done. I'm like, girl, no, he did it. Who else knows? And that's what she was saying. She's like, the only two people who would have known is Rodney or Giselle.
Yeah.
Well, hello.
Because wasn't at this point, now after she got arrested, she's been interrogated, and they give her a phone call. Isn't she suspicious of Giselle now?
Yes, she's also suspicious of Giselle.
I didn't know if it was now or later, but thankfully, she didn't call either of them. Who did she call, Mason?
Ghost? No, not going to use that joke again. But she did call Mr. Preston the doorman.
Yes.
Because we learned very early on in this book that he does have a daughter, Charlotte, and she is a lawyer and a pretty darn good lawyer, so I've heard. So the book makes it out to be. And Charlotte obviously offers to represent Molly pro bono, which means no.
But Molly, when Charlotte comes, Molly's like, "Is it all right if I pay you later?" And either Charlotte or the detective was like, "We're not thinking of that right now."
No, and lawyers typically don't ask for all the money up front anyway. Like,
Molly mentioned that.
Yeah, I'm gonna work 100 hours on this case, so I'm gonna need $10,000
immediately.
So, yeah, no, it's not typically how it works. Yeah. So obviously, they get her out on bond, or bail, whatever, which is like $800,000 to get her out. Something crazy.
Unreal.
But they posted that up because they knew she was obviously innocent, so they'd get that money back or whatever. And then Charlotte is reviewing all the details of kind of what's going on, asking Molly, okay, how'd you get wrapped up in this? What'd you do? She obviously confesses to some of the bad things that she did, like pawning off Mr. Black's ring. But then Juan Manuel kind of turns into this situation, and it's kind of revealed through Charlotte and Mr. Preston that, Juan Manuel is obviously a drug mule right now for Rodney, for these two very
against his will
aggressive men who are tattooed up and got gauges and stuff, but against his will because he obviously doesn't have a work permit. He doesn't want to be sent back to his home country. So he's in a bit of a conundrum here. And the duffel bags that Rodney had asked Molly to place in the empty room that Juan Manuel was filling every night were actually filled with cocaine.
Yeah.
Yes. You can get a lot of trouble for that, Molly. Don't know if you're aware, but Rodney...
I don't think she's aware.
No, I definitely do not think she is. But again, because of the work permit and everything, Juan Manuel felt like he had no other option but to do this. He was getting threatened. Rodney is a very powerful man, and he actually even told Juan Manuel where his family was and in his country, like where his family was, and gave the address. Yeah. Which is pretty terrifying. So Juan Manuel was just trying to protect his family and felt like he had no other choice. So again, a very sympathetic character. Like, I understood what was going on with him. He was just trying to keep his family safe.
Yeah.
But this is where it's revealed that it actually turns out that Rodney and Giselle were lovers.
Wow, who would have thought?
I know. And Giselle wanted to run away to the Cayman Islands to start a new life, not with Mr. Black.
No.
But with Rodney. So Rodney is two-timing Molly. How dare he?
Two-timing.
Well, come on. You know what? Don't take a girl out on a date. Wait a year and a half. Take her out on another date while you're dating someone else. Not very cool.
No.
No, not. He's a bad man. He's a bad man. But for worse reasons than that, might I say. But yeah, no. So this is all revealed through like Juan Manuel. He actually ends up showing up to Molly's apartment as well, kind of giving with food and stuff, kind of giving his story about everything that's transpired over the course of the last couple of years. I mean, Juan has been in a very tough situation for a couple of years now. So it was really good for him to get it all off his chest. And then obviously he also talks about not going back to work now because it's too much of a risk, too much of a liability. And you don't want to set Rodney off because at this point, the news is already reporting that Molly was arrested for the murder.
That made no sense to me. Excuse me. So yes, Mr. Black was a huge man in this book, you know. They would so yes, they arrested Molly, but would they immediately show her face to the press? Because there's got to be more than one suspect in a case like this.
Not when you have incompetence at a level so high where you would think someone like Molly would murder Mr. Black. It's like the stupidest concept ever. Like, this is the dumbest detective in history.
But, so let's say this was all real. Do you think they would let the press know?
Oh, absolutely. If they're arrested and indicted for a crime, they would know right away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, she had to post bail in order just to get out, and that was $800,000.
Okay,
no, that's definitely in the news.
That I forgot to text you and ask you that because when I was listening to it, I was like, it's been less than like 2 days.
Yeah.
And they immediately told the press. So, okay. Yeah. I just wanted to know.
So now we're in the present day. And the group kind of discusses and comes up with this plan to help Molly. And that night they trick Rodney into going into the Black Suite, the one that the Black family used, or Mr. Black and Mrs. Black. Yeah.
I knew what you were
suite to fetch a duffel bag of cocaine. Now, when he does, the police apprehend him and red-handed, and he's arrested for the murder of Mr. Black. But this whole kind of setup I actually did enjoy because I felt like they were racing against the clock.
Yeah.
Because the news was going to report Molly and actually put her face out there.
Yeah.
But they didn't want Rodney to see that because they were kind of insinuating that the police were on to you, Rodney. You got to go to Mr. Black's suite. You got to clean it up. You got to grab the cocaine before they show up. So actually, this was a really good first. Predictable as this book was, I actually did enjoy the ending quite a bit. This part here.
This part was not predictable at all.
Yeah, it wasn't. And I didn't really know how this part was going to end. Of course, we kind of get this nice ending wrapped up in a perfect, nice little bow. And we come to find out that he is arrested for the murder and framing of Molly. And Molly decides to tell Giselle to get her passport and run away. Because remember, she has that phone conversation with Giselle, and she still doesn't know. But she knows that Giselle and Rodney were in love, so she cannot trust her friend now. And Giselle gives this very heartfelt, kind of emotional monologue, being like, I did care about you. I am a good person. I had no idea that he killed Mr. Black, blah, 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 blah. And, of course, Molly believes her because she's a good person, and she says, get your passport and run. Don't ever come back.
Yeah.
And then she kind of turns into Smeagol and goes, leave and never come back. Oh, so stupid. But so we get this kind of revelation in all of this, right? And then the book kind of just throws you for a curveball here. And this was like very, I was like,
what?
Okay. So we get all that like climactic, like, oh, we don't know, is he going to get caught or not? And Rodney inevitably ends up getting caught. Everything's happy. And then the book goes, that night, Molly thinks about her grand's death and how her grand in her final days of dying of pancreatic cancer had asked Molly to smother her with a pillow. And not only that, but Molly agrees. She goes, yeah, I got you, Gran. I mean, it's not going to be fun for me, but yeah, I'll do it.
This part made 0 sense.
Nah, I didn't get it. I don't understand.
Was it necessary?
That's what I didn't. It wasn't necessary.
It wasn't.
The only... I can see where they were trying to tie it into like Mr. Black being suffocated with a pillow and Molly suffocating someone with a pillow. But like,
it doesn't need to be tied with anything.
No, it doesn't. Like, dude, Gran could have
so
just
Molly
died of
is a
pancreatic
straight
cancer.
up murderer?
Well, I would call straight up. I would call, Gran asked for it.
It's an assisted suicide.
Right. It is assisted suicide.
So
depending on how you feel with
I
that.
have a question. So during the whole scene with like Molly, before she smothers her grandmother with a pillow,
she does.
Did she give her extra pills to make it less painful?
Yeah, so she ate a bottle of pills. She probably would have OD'd. Molly could have just sat there and watched her grandma vomit, which would have been pretty awful, though.
Okay, I didn't know if she just gave her like her normal like prescription.
Yeah.
Or if she gave her like more than necessary.
Yeah, no. She gave her more so there was no pain at all. So she was just snoring.
During this, you should have seen me because I was at work and I was like,
oh, I know. It was so off-putting. I was like, why
and
are we
Alicia
doing
was
this?
around me when I was listening to it and I'm like, what? What is going on?
I don't know. I thought that was so weird.
Uncalled for.
Yeah, it was very strange. And then like immediately after they tell that story, and they're like, all right, Friday.
Literally.
Like, why did you add this in the book? I don't get it. But obviously on Friday, Molly's boss, Mr. Snow, who betrayed her to begin with, said you couldn't work here, you're a murderer, is now like, hey, do you want your job back? And of course, Molly is just like, yeah, I'll take my job back. Great. And then several months later, Molly and Juan Manuel are now dating, which is pretty awesome. Saw that coming.
Did we skipped over the part at court? When Molly was on the stand testifying?
No, that's coming up. Molly also thinks back to the testimony she gave yesterday.
Oh, that was in the epilogue.
Right.
Sorry.
Right. So anyway.
Confused.
It's all good. Molly and Juan Manuel are now dating, and Molly had recently been promoted to head maid. Juan Manuel has recently moved in with Molly. Yeah. So, yay, she's got someone. She's not so lonely anymore, which is really great. But then Molly receives something via like a deposit in her account. Mm-hmm. And it's for $10,000, and it says Sandy Kamen. You know that came from Giselle.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest though, Giselle, she got you off on murder. How do you not send her at least $50K if you got $1 billion?
Honestly, I was like,
kind
only
of
10 grand.
Cheap individual. Yes, trying to keep it very PG. I was gonna call.
Well, did Victoria Black? Did she end up getting all of the money?
Oh yeah, because the
that ever
prenup,
discussed?
maybe not. Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, because she got
okay, so that's fine.
Maybe Giselle ended up marrying another rich man because she did go into detail about
how
she wanted to marry
another rich man. Yeah. But so that was pretty cool because then Molly's able to do like that hospitality management program.
Yeah.
She's finally, because that's what Gran wanted for her. And then Molly thinks back on the old testimony that she gave on the stand yesterday when Rodney was convicted of murder.
You said yesterday.
Yeah. Because technically it is yesterday from this point in the book. She gave the testimony.
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
Wow. Struggling.
So anyway, she had the court and it was talking about how she found the body and then she fainted. Mm-hmm. But then she brings up on the stand, which she never even brought up to Charlotte, her lawyer, or anyone yet. But she says she saw a shadowy figure holding a pillow. And then, of course, she fainted. This broad faints every 5 minutes. And then she fainted on the stand. And they said, all right, 15-minute recess. Molly fell asleep again. Oh, God. Can someone wake her up? But she says that she didn't see anything before because she didn't know entirely what she saw. But in the epilogue, Mikhaili, which is the big twist of the book, which really is not much of a twist, but it is a twist. Molly explains that she really did see a shadowy figure, but she didn't just see a shadowy figure before she fainted. She saw none other than Mr. Black's first wife.
The OG.
Oh my God.
Oh, who would have thought? Yeah. Not me.
And I guess Mrs. Black, even helped up Molly and said, hey, girl, we got to stick together on this. We got to kill these bad men.
No one likes this man.
Right. I mean, that's basically what it was. It was hilarious because she was like, just don't tell anyone because bad men deserve to die, essentially. And Molly was like, I got you, girl.
Straight up.
I mean, you've been my friend for like 30 seconds, but that's pretty gangster what you did. Yeah. And then that's how the book ends, which is kind of just random. So I'm like, who the heck is Molly?
Who is this woman?
Right. That, like, initially I thought could do no wrong. And now she's like pawning off wedding rings. She's suffocating her grandma until she dies. And then she's witnessing a murder and not turning in the person who murdered the individual. I'm like, so is Molly really that good? I don't know.
So did the police ever question Molly about the ring? Did she ever have to pay a fine or anything?
No. It's probably not that big a thing in the book, but they did know about it. Because remember, Rodney told them everything.
Yeah.
And then they had to go and then go to the pawn shop and all that kind of stuff. But, overall for this book, I got to be honest, I thought the narration, like if we're going to go over it for overall story and narration, I thought the narration on Audible, I thought she did a phenomenal job on Molly.
Oh, yeah.
Like I really enjoyed the narration. And there's some books that I cannot stand the narration, but this one was really good, really well done. For the story, I'm going to give this, I got to be honest here. Like I didn't hate the book, but I didn't love it. I'm going to give it a 3.5. It was very middle of the road for me, this book. And then overall, like recommendation and everything, I'm going to give this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars. If you're looking for a quick read or something like a little murder mystery, it's not a bad story. I think the author did a good job, and I really liked the character development of Molly. I thought she did a great job writing her in a lot of aspects, but the story fell a little short for me just on like how predictable it was. You kind of knew right away, and then once I started it, I was kind of just like, all right, I want to listen to it to see how it finishes, even though I kind of already know what's going on. But overall, 3.5 out of 5 stars. Mikhaili, what is your breakdown? What is your review?
I think the narration on Audible was brilliant. The woman who, I don't know her name, but I think she did wonderful. And I feel like Molly as a character in reading her story would be extremely difficult because of, how Molly speaks and how tedious she is. So I would give that like solid 4.5. I think she did awesome. I think the story was very predictable and yes, it's a quick read or a quick listen, and I just wasn't really a fan of it. So I'd probably have to give it like a solid 3 stars, no more, no less.
Okay, so 3 out of 5, and I'm at 3.5 out of 5. So we pretty much felt the same way about this book. It's not a terrible book, and like as an author, like be proud of the book because it's not bad. Like it is good, but it's just not, it wasn't anything that is really going to shake your mind or make it be like, whoa, crazy, Yeah. But overall, I thought well written. The character development was really good. And, I'm probably going to check out Nita Prose next book as well, whenever that comes out.
Because Google told me that this was a debut book, but I'm not 100% sure, but that's what Google told me.
Okay, so if this is a debut book, that's
Hats
much
off.
more impressive to me. That's very hard. Your first book, I could only imagine how difficult that is to write.
Yeah.
So for a debut book, she's got time to develop her writing skills and maybe work on some of those minor things. But overall, I was pleased with it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. All right, everyone. That is our review, our book club review of The Maid, our second episode, Mikhaili. Great job. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. If you guys could smash that like button, comment below, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification as we drop book reviews here every single week.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. My name is Mason Knight. That is Mikhaili Knight. And until next time.
Bye.